Chapter 5. The sun was already high as they rode beneath the forest canopy when Earl said, "I'm thirsty. Didn't we bring anything to drink? Or eat?" "You were supposed to bring your own rations," Philip replied. "I brought mine, and I'm not going thirsty because you are hungover this morning." Master Leicester glanced at Earl. "You can have some of mine, but once we reach Driftwood, you'll buy your own, from your own coin." "I brought food for only myself and the girl," Leicester added. "I didn't think you'd forget yours, given your usual dedication to eating." "She hasn't been eating all morning," Earl said, his hand resting briefly on his stomach. "Maybe she doesn't like our food. I bet she wouldn't mind if you shared some of hers." "You're right," Leicester said. "She hasn't been doing much of anything. She isn't even fighting, almost as if she's accepted her fate." "My warning earlier must have had quite an effect," Philip said with a quiet chuckle. "Maybe," Leicester replied. "Or maybe not. Either way, I'm glad we're making progress and don't have to fight her all the way to Central City." Crack. "Quiet," Philip hissed. "Did you hear that?" The three men scanned the forest in silence. "Yes," Leicester said at last, doubtful. "But I don't see anything." "Probably just a hog," Philip said. "Let's hope it's not one of those outlaw bands. They've been getting bolder." "Really?" Earl asked. "I thought outlaws stayed hidden, only moving at night when it's harder to track them." "The more the kingdom modernizes, the less room they have to hide," Leicester said. "Bray keeps expanding, and Driftwood has been cutting back the forest from the other side for decades. The outlaws feel cornered." "Cornered?" Philip scoffed. "You almost sound like you're on their side." "I most certainly am not," Leicester said calmly. "But understanding your enemy matters. Empathy can be useful, even in war." Philip rolled his eyes. "Why are there outlaws at all?" Earl asked, ignoring him. "Why doesn't the king just send soldiers into the forest and clear it out?" Leicester turned to Earl, his voice steady as the horses picked their way between the trees. "It isn't that simple. First, there would be heavy losses. The king has better resources, but they know the forest far better than we do. Second, the flow of new outlaws never truly stops. Even if most were caught, they would be replaced within half a decade, driven there faster by the very pressure meant to remove them." "Flow?" Earl asked, genuinely puzzled as his horse stepped over a thick root in the path. "Why would there be more and more? Wouldn't the king want to stop the rise of bandits and outlaws?" "Of course he would," Leicester said, guiding his mount around a low-hanging branch. "But if those people were inclined to listen to the king, they wouldn't be outlaws to begin with." Leicester studied Earl for a moment, his voice softening. "And you'll come to see this soon enough. Resentment is growing across the world, even here, within the kingdom itself." "You almost sound treasonous," Philip said, scanning the trees as they rode. "Good thing the Baron isn't here to hear you." "The Baron?" Leicester scoffed quietly. "That fool knows exactly how I think. I watched him grow up." He nudged his horse forward. "He might be a better ruler now if he'd listened more back then." Philip's ears reddened. He turned back to the trees, scanning the forest as if hoping no one had noticed, and muttered, "I can't wait to get out of this damned forest and have a proper brew in Driftwood." "Yes," Leicester said. "Let's keep pushing. I have no desire to spend a night here either." He glanced ahead down the road. "Bray and Driftwood are a hard day's ride at a good pace. We've already covered much of it. But I'd rather not test our luck by slowing now." The group continued at a steady trot, the sound of hooves muffled by the forest floor.
Master Leicester hummed softly, steering his horse along the narrow trail. The shadows stretched longer between the trees, the forest oddly still. The girl shifted uneasily, tugging against her bindings. "Hold," Leicester said, lifting a hand. He said it first to the group, then to the girl as she began to struggle. "Maybe she needs to relieve herself," Philip said, casting her a suggestive glance. "Perhaps," Leicester replied. "Let's stop here for a moment and give the horses a rest." "Someone needs to watch her," Philip said, hopeful. Leicester looked from Philip to Earl and back again. "Yes," he said calmly, "and neither of you will be doing so." "What if she overpowers you, old man?" Philip shot back. Leicester extended his hand. "Then you'll give me your loaded musket. She'll know better than to run with a barrel pointed at her. Now, both of you, tend to the horses." He dismounted and helped the girl down from the saddle and walked her, at gunpoint, around a tree.
Oddly, she stopped resisting at a very convenient moment, Earl thought, just as he heard Master Leicester shout for help. Earl and Philip exchanged a glance and sprinted toward the sound. As Earl reached the clearing, he saw the girl thrashing violently, fighting her shackles with renewed strength. "What happened?" Philip demanded. "I don't know," Leicester said. "She went wild all of a sudden." There was fear in the girl's eyes. A sharp whistle cut the air beside Earl's ear. He turned just in time to see an arrow buried in the girl's shoulder. Another hissed past a heartbeat later, barely missing her head. A third followed, striking her thigh. Master Leicester shoved the girl to the ground, dragging her behind him to get her under cover. Philip snatched back his musket. Earl turned toward him, but Philip was already sprinting in the direction the arrows had come from. Earl hesitated. Protect Master Leicester and the girl, or follow Philip? "Go!" Leicester barked. "Run after them! If we don't strike back, they'll finish us!" Earl glanced once more toward the girl, then took off after Philip. He reached him just in time to hear a wet gurgle, followed by a soft cry that faded into nothing. Philip stood over a fallen man. He looked to be in his 50s, gaunt and hollow-eyed, his frame so thin it bordered on malnourished. All of a sudden, Earl saw something move beneath the man's chin. Realization struck a heartbeat later. Philip had driven his saber up through the man's jaw. As he pulled it free, blood poured out in a dark rush. "Grab his bow and arrows, and his dagger!" Philip whispered sharply. "Stay low. There are more. Follow me." Earl stepped closer to the dead man. He had seen corpses before, but he had never watched a man die. And not like this. He stared into the man's empty eyes and wondered distantly if someone would miss him. He swallowed hard, knowing he would never forget this moment. "Hurry!" Philip hissed, already moving on. They crouched in the brush until a soft cough broke the silence. Earl looked at Philip, who pressed a finger to his lips, then gestured for Earl to stay put. Philip slipped forward, inch by inch. He turned just in time to see a third bandit drawing his bow, aiming straight at Philip. Earl froze. Adrenaline surged. Without thinking, he snatched up the stolen bow. He closed one eye, just as he had seen others do, fitted an arrow, and pulled back with all his strength. The bow resisted him. He held for a heartbeat and released. The arrow fell short, skidding into the forest floor well before its mark. Not dangerous, but close enough for the bandit to notice Earl. The bandit turned, looking first at the arrow in front of him, and then his eyes locked onto Earl's. He almost looked amused as he shifted his aim. "Damn," Earl breathed. There was nowhere to run. At this distance, there was no time. He was about to shut his eyes when the bandit suddenly pitched forward. Earl stared, confused, then saw Philip standing over him, musket raised like a club. He must have struck him from behind. Philip brought the weapon up again, leveling it at the bandit's head. "Wait!" Earl shouted. "He doesn't deserve mercy," Philip said, his voice tight with hate. "He doesn't deserve to live." "Do what you must," Earl said quickly. "But let me ask him why they attacked us." Philip hesitated, jaw clenched. 30 seconds, he said at last. "Then we get back to the old fool and the girl." Earl stepped forward and crouched beside the bandit. He was thin and old as well, his bones pressing sharply against his skin. "Why did you attack us?" Earl asked softly. "We didn't do anything to you. We're only trying to reach Driftwood." The bandit looked at him with disgust. "Your guild," he said. "You and that old man. You've caused so much misery in this world that killing you would be mercy to the rest of us." He spat in Earl's face. Bang! Birds burst from the trees as the gunshot echoed through the forest. Blood and bone shattered across the forest floor as Philip fired his musket into the bandit's head at point-blank range.
30 seconds are over, Philip said. "We need to move. The girl needs immediate attention, and there may be more coming." He grabbed Earl by the shoulders. Earl's ears rang. His thoughts lagged behind the moment. The image of the dead man burned itself into his mind. He was in shock. What had just happened? And the third bandit? Had Philip killed him too? They reached the clearing where the girl lay wounded. Master Leicester was already tending to her, pressing a bandage tight around her thigh. He looked up as the two young men approached. "You made it," Leicester said, relief breaking through his voice. "What happened? Did you get them?" "I found 3 bandits," Philip said. "I took care of all of them. But we still need to move. There may be more coming." Master Leicester nodded grimly. "That gunshot will have alerted anyone nearby, and the girl needs a proper doctor, urgently." Earl had been quiet since they returned. He leaned against a tree. Then, without warning, a wave of nausea hit him. He doubled over and vomited onto the forest floor. "Good thing I didn't give you any of my rations," Philip said mockingly, glancing back at the sounds Earl was making. Earl straightened and wiped the remains from his mouth. Without a word, he walked to his horse. Once mounted, he finally said, "Let's hurry." Still tied, the girl followed Master Leicester's horse, calmer now, at least for the moment. Master Leicester and Philip fell in behind Earl at a fast trot. The group rode on in silence. Philip and Master Leicester listened to the forest, eyes moving constantly, scanning for any sign of pursuit. Earl was lost in his thoughts. He couldn't shake the faces of the 2 men he had seen die, their gaunt features, their sickly thinness. What had the bandit meant when he said the guild was responsible for so much misery? Had they left people behind? Mothers, wives, children waiting for fathers who would never return? Would those children grow up never knowing what had happened to their fathers? And why did Philip seem so untouched by it all? As if he had lived through moments like this 100 times before. Earl glanced at him. Philip rode ahead, posture steady, eyes fixed on the trees. Dark blood still stained the shaft of his saber. A shower of nausea overwent Earl again as he saw the bloodstains. He swallowed hard to not vomit again, but he was unsuccessful in his effort. He vomited whatever he had left in his stomach from yesterday's fest. He cursed and swore himself to not be this weak next time.
He felt behind him, where he had strapped the bow earlier without thinking. He will train with the bow, so he won't be so useless next time. Earl glanced at Master Leicester and the girl. Blood was seeping through the bandage around her thigh, dripping steadily onto the saddle. The girl swayed back and forth, struggling to keep her balance. Master Leicester kept one hand on her, trying to steady her. She looked barely conscious, fighting to stay awake. "Master!" Earl shouted over the pounding of hooves, pointing at her leg. "She's losing a lot of blood." "Damn," Leicester said. "They must have hit an artery. We need to hurry, or she'll bleed to death." "How much longer?" Earl asked. 2 more hours, if we keep this pace." "Will she make it?" Leicester hesitated. "If they ruptured the femoral artery," he said quietly, "I'm afraid even a seasoned doctor might not be able to save her." Earl swallowed and looked at the girl again. How ironic, he thought. The first real chance he had to learn anything about himself. And she might die, taking that chance with her. Night had fallen by the time they reached a wide clearing. "We're almost there," Master Leicester said. "This is the edge of the forest. We're already in the territory of the lumber company." Earl looked around. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of tree stumps jutted from the ground, pale and raw in the dark. "So many dead trees," Earl said. "How are we not running out of forest? How long have they been felling trees here?" "Driftwood has existed for a few hundred years," Master Leicester replied. "But the rapid deforestation of Chartwood only began about 10 years ago." He paused. "Driftwood has grown quickly in that time. Unfortunately, it hasn't attracted the best men the kingdom has to offer. Many who came had few other options, so they went to work for the lumber company." "What guild oversees the logging and the lumber company?" Earl asked, genuinely interested. He had never questioned which guild the lumber trade belonged to. "Carpenters?" he guessed.
No, Leicester said. There is no guild oversight. The company is backed directly by the coin lenders and by the king. So the men felling the trees aren't part of any guild? Earl asked, startled. No, Earl, Leicester said. Most of them have no training, no qualifications, and few choices. Some come because they have nowhere else to go. Others because they're running from something, prison, debts, or worse. It's unregulated work with no protection or rights. For many, the alternatives are just as grim. As Leicester finished, Earl caught sight of lights flickering in the distance. Look, this must be Driftwood. I'm afraid not, Leicester said. That's a military post. Driftwood lies beyond it. The girl needs the best care available. And that means the base infirmary, not Driftwood, wedged between taverns and brothels. Halt! Who seeks entry to the Driftwood military post? A short, middle-aged man shouted as the group approached. My name is Philip, he called back. I'm escorting Grandmaster Leicester of the guild. Philip raised his voice, trying to sound important. The guard's gaze flicked to the girl, then to Leicester. He straightened and corrected his salute. This girl needs immediate medical attention, Leicester said, gesturing toward her. She showed no sign of response. Now, Leicester barked. Yes, sir, the guard stammered. He spun and shouted over his shoulder. Theodore! Almore! Get over here! Escort them to the infirmary and fetch the lead physician. A guild grand master is present. He hesitated, then added louder. And send word to the commander as well. 2 large men came around the wall. The larger of the 2 strode to the girl and lifted her over his shoulder, while the other took charge of the horses once the group dismounted. They followed the man carrying the girl through the gate and into the military post. The post looked nothing like the caserne in Bray.
It was far larger, with many more people moving about. Earl glanced around as they crossed the open encampment. Soldiers drank openly, played cards, and scuffled among themselves. It was far rowdier than anything he was used to in Bray. They reached a large tent and went inside. Earl saw several older men coughing on field beds along the sides. One man lay apart from the others, his leg freshly amputated and wrapped in thick bandages. The large soldier lowered the girl onto an empty field bed. "The girl's safe," Philip said. "I'm heading to Driftwood. Food, drink, and comfort's best paid for by the hour." Master Leicester glanced at Philip, then surveyed the tent. Taking in that she was the only woman among a camp of drunken men, he said, "Earl and I will remain here. We'll keep an eye on her." Earl heard movement behind him. He turned to see an old man in a stained white coat entering the tent. His hair and beard were gray, his face lined and weary, as though life had worn him down piece by piece. "You must be Grand Master Leicester of the Guild," the man said, studying him. "The guards told me you brought in an injured girl." "Yes," Leicester replied. "To both. She was struck by 2 arrows," he continued. "One in the right shoulder, the other in the left thigh." "Arrows?" the physician repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Arrows," Leicester confirmed. "We were ambushed by bandits on the road between Bray and Driftwood." "Attacked in daylight," the physician said thoughtfully. "That might explain why they didn't use a musket." "Can we please focus on the girl who's bleeding out?" Leicester said, fixing the physician with a steady look. "I believe one of the arrows may have severed a major artery." "Yes, sorry, sir," the physician said quickly. He glanced around, noticing how many eyes were fixed on them. "Let's move her to another tent, somewhere more private." The large men lifted the girl again and carried her into an adjoining tent, one that appeared to connect directly to the physician's quarters. Once she was laid down, Leicester turned to Philip. "You're still here? I thought you were eager to enjoy yourself in town." Philip flushed. "I need to know where to find you tomorrow. I can't afford to lose you. Commander Barrow would hang me himself." "You 3 may sleep in my quarters," the gray-haired man said, gesturing toward the girl, then to Leicester and Earl. "Perfect," Leicester said at once. He looked back to Philip. "We'll remain here until the girl recovers." Philip forced a crooked smile. "Perfect," he echoed, then turned and left the tent.